And I'm used to, you go to an interview, you do the interview, you know how it is. They feedback and they tell you you haven't got the job or you have got the job. And I've been really, my success rate with teaching jobs have been really good, because most of the jobs I went for, like I did my first school, I trained there, I then worked there. Then I applied for a job for my second school, I got the job. I applied for a couple of head of department roles, and one of the ones I applied for, like I got that job. I was so used to getting jobs because I was good at my job that I expected to hear back and even be successful. So not hearing back was really hard for me, and I just didn't get it. And I thought I felt like I'd put myself out there and then just nothing back at all.
Every L podcast. Every L podcast.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Matt Brown, and you're listening to the
Every L podcast.
Each episode, we'll have a different guest come on and talk about when life hands you an L, is it really a loss or is it something else?
Because not every L's a loss.
So sit back, relax, or do whatever you guys do to get comfortable as we get into this. Let's go. Welcome everyone to another episode of Every L Podcast, where every episode we have a different guest come on. They talk about something or some things that's taken place in their life where things didn't go right. It went left, took a detour they weren't expecting, and it's up to them at the end of the conversation to tell us whether they felt it was actually a loss or something else. And today I have someone who I went to school with, and this guy was that guy. Just a fantastic human being, just so well brought up, had manners, had discipline, had all the things that I struggled with. And I guess I couldn't articulate at the time because I was just me being me and he was being him. But he was just such a great guy, just an encouragement. I don't think there was anyone that didn't like him because he was just such a likable individual. But I can tell you, up into this big age that I am now, and he is, I just look at him with so much love and affection. I just love how he's grown, how he's just conducts himself throughout life. There's going to be many things in his life where he may not agree with how he's conducted himself, but I just think the way he conducts himself as a human, as a man, as a brother, as a son, as a husband, as a friend, as an employee, as all the things that he's ever become, he's just been so just well done in terms of how he's delivered himself. So that's me giving my flowers to him because I've got time for him. And then he's just so nice to come on the podcast. Doesn't have to, he doesn't owe me anything, to come on the podcast and to share whatever it is he's going to share. Just so that anyone don't understand, I've got time and respect for this human being. He's a fantastic human being. His name is Kalai. He is going to share a little bit about himself, whatever he feels comfortable at. But that's just me giving him his flowers because it's only right that we do so before we jump into what the L's is he wants to talk about. Kalai, how are you doing?
Mr. Matt Brown, thank you, bro. Honestly, thank you for that wonderful intro. You make me sound so good. But I always tell people my wife sees the ugly parts so that everyone else sees the beauty. And I guess that was me, even in my family home, was them seeing the ugly parts and then being able to show everyone the beauty on the outside. So yeah, man, I'm really grateful, man. I've known you for like most of my life. Do you know what I mean? Like we grew up together from school days, sixth form, stayed in touch, still in touch now, still friends. And it's just wonderful to be here finally. It's been a long time coming. So I'm glad that the timetables aligned. But, equally, bro, you were a big part of my upbringing. And I remember the times chilling at your yard and learning how to do backflips and seeing you do the gainer for the first time and thinking, oh my gosh, what is going on? It was just so crazy to see this really tall guy just doing this gainer, and I'd never seen a gainer in my life, and I was just like, okay, that was inspiring to me. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
break dance and the dancing, and we just had so many different moments in life
Yeah.
over the time that we were in sixth form that was so formative, I think, for us all and everyone in that friendship group. So yeah, thank you, man. You take your flowers as well, bro. You know what I mean?
Much appreciated. I would, but I got myself with hay fever. So, but yeah, there's many things that I haven't have told you about what he can do. He's very multifaceted, but that's just part of his characteristics. To actually, what you said about your wife seeing the dark side and everyone else see the good side, I liken it to being like a football player, like the training pitches at home. You see all the things, you slacked in that area, pick it up, do this, do that better. And then when you go out, you perform. And that is how I liken it to. And I just think that your parents, the uni you had, meant that the training was not necessarily rigorous, but you was well prepared when it came to you coming out and performing, because you excelled at pretty much everything. Myself, I think I had some bad habits in me that was visible on the actual football pitch, but you know, it is what it is. I'd like to think you learned from my mistakes. So, but yeah, just for anyone that's visually impaired, just to get, because well, I say visually impaired, you might be watching, you might not be, but I am a tall black guy trying to get more slimmer so I can be a little bit more, yeah, a little bit, not there yet, but I'm trying to get there. And, yeah, just to let people know. And then, Kalai, how would you describe yourself, sir?
I am a 5'8.25". I haven't quite got Matt's height. A black male, and yeah, I guess that's me, really, man. I love to smile. I'm always smiling. Apparently, I think that's just probably part of just who I am. I wear glasses, and I have done for a long time. And yeah, that's me. I have a beard that is still struggling to connect in all places, but we're getting there. It's forming, exactly. It's forming.
But you know what? It's fine. And you like to smile because you've got reasons to smile. And that's one of the great things about you. So
yeah, thank you. Definitely.
Not to worry. So right, let's go on to this, because I'm eager. Because people, you've heard me say how much I think he's amazing and incredible. And I stand by that. But I'm like to know a little bit more about some of the things that he might have gone through and not everyone widely knows about it. And one of the things that he wanted to discuss was first rejection after an audition. So going into this, please go to the top of this and tell us what the scene was, because I know you changed careers. Not necessarily everyone understands that, but just tell us, what career was you doing prior to that? How did you get into changing careers? And then what led up to this particular potential L that you faced?
Sure. So I interestingly, when I was at school, and it's interesting you say I was like sort of multifaceted, I think my key thing would have been obviously drama. I love performing and singing and acting, and that was that Miss Arnold, bless her soul, she, the late Miss Arnold was my drama teacher. She really believed in me, and I think she was probably the reason why I found my element at school. And then sixth form was I think for us all it was a bit so yeah, it was that was definitely my thing. But I think I came from a Caribbean family, and my dad was like, look, you're going to uni, you're going to get a proper job. I probably wouldn't have done drama if I'd listened to my dad, because he was like, look, you're going to do business and computing and this. So I sort of secretly chose drama. Thankfully, Miss Arnold found me and said, that's what you're doing. And that enabled me to still have my element, even though I was sort of doing these other things like computing and business, trying to do the thing that would lead to a job per se. But then kind of as I sort of left sixth form, it was very clear to me that performing arts was definitely my thing, the thing I wanted to do. But I didn't really know how to navigate that. I didn't know about drama school. I didn't come from that world. So I didn't really have a clue. But I was in a band, we were singing, and that was the thing. I was kind of still into music. So very raw talent, I would say. And then when I'd gone to university, which was sort of kind of by accident, I sort of fell into a course called Digital Media and Cultural Studies, because I took a year out. And then my dad realised, what's he doing? He's just getting up and going to the studio. He's putting on weight. And he's eating lots of chicken and chips. He's hanging around with those boys again, singing in the studio. And he's just, that's it. And he's working part-time. He's like, what are you doing? And then he said, look, you're going to uni. So I then ended up going to uni. Like I said, enrolled in a course, ended up studying this course called digital media. It was a joint degree in cultural studies. Had no real idea what I was going to do with it, but it just sounded interesting. I think after sixth form, I guess what I'm saying is I feel like I was a little bit directionless, even though I did have the music as a focus. So that was still a thing. But career-wise, didn't really know what I wanted to do. And actually at age 17, I remember feeling quite afraid of the future because I wasn't quite sure, as you know, what it was like as a young black man coming up in those times. Like, what am I going to do? Like, who do I see out there that's doing things that I can kind of connect to and feel like that could be me, especially even in the performing arts field. I just didn't see it or wasn't aware of it. So went to uni, did my 4 years as part-time degree, did that. And I didn't know what I was going to do at the end of that. So my wife now, but then friend, she was quite clearly going into the pathway of teaching. And I thought, okay, let me give this a try. So I decided to go down the teaching route. And I always tell people I fell into teaching. I do think it was divine. I feel like it was God's plan that I did do that first, because I gained so many amazing friends, skills, connections, memories from doing that, which is helping me now and will help me for the rest of my life, I believe. But I did teaching and I said, right, I'm going to do this for 3 years. So I said, I'm not doing this for any longer than 3 years, because in my mind, me and my band, I was going to say boy band, but that just sounds a bit like...
It was though. It
was a boy
band. In them days, it was
a boy band. Exactly. I'm like, we are going to blow. And we were just so excited. We were coming up through the garage era. We were a gospel group, but kind of a gospel group turned gospel garage, kind of pop, whatever, hip hop group.
Can I hear I won't move, no, if he don't tell me so. No, he only want to save my life when I was standing on the edge of a knife. Can never run out my life. The only one that I can trust, I need. What can I say? What can I do? Before long, I am into you. He's inside the music, he's inside the drums. The music's gonna save your church, but you're a raver. He's all I know. You're all I need. You keep me alive. I feel you, I need you. The source of my life. Just you and me till the end of time.
So we were thinking we're going to blow. So I kind of had 1 foot in teaching and maybe half a foot out. And 1.5 foot in then. And then I said, what I said would be 3 years ended up becoming an 11-year career. Now, of course, in that time I got married. I had children. 2011 was my first child and 2013, my second child. So, and then we kind of was on the property ladder then, got our first flat in like 2006, I think, 2007, we got married. And then it was just, I became a head of department. I had department responsibility. And as it goes in that career, the longer you stay in it, obviously your pay can increase. Then you just have more responsibility. You become more expensive and you get more responsibility. So I was in this job and I ended up working in 3 different schools in the end. But I think deep down within me, there was always that desire, because obviously the thing with the band, it didn't quite work out, and we all got married and grew up and decided, actually, that's not going to happen. We're not going to blow. And everyone got married and had kids and then, kind of just did their own thing. So I was then sort of doing my own kind of solo thing with the music, but it never really took off the way I'd maybe thought it might, but it was still a passion project. And teaching was what I was a teacher. That was what I did. And I did find that in that period of time, Matt, in that 11-year period, I think all of my inhibitions kind of crept in, and all of the desires and the passions and maybe even the confidence and the boldness and the dreams that I had as a creative, I think I was suppressing all of that. And it was all very deep down inside of me. It would come out in flashes, and it would come out in a little school performance or little moments or opportunities. But I was not fully fledged living like a creative being. I was just starving my creative side. And it was in my 3rd school, because I worked in my first school and I was like, yeah, I'm done with this. Then moved to my 2nd school, got some responsibility. And I think that transformed my experience as a teacher, because I loved that school. And I feel like that's where I became Mr. Muirhead, the teacher. And I learned so much. I had a great head of department and I made great friends, and I enjoyed the job and I enjoyed my role and what I did. But then I kind of got to the point where sort of 6 years in, I thought, okay, maybe I need a change. And then I went to this job. I worked in South London for 2 years as the head of department. And that job, I think, almost broke me in half. It was just so difficult, bro. Like, honestly, I was on the commute, leaving early, coming back late, and still working when I got home after 8 p.m., leaving the house like before 7. And I had my 2 children at the time. So obviously they're young. Zara's on maternity leave and she's doing the thing during the day, and I'm at work and coming back, and I'm just exhausted, bro. Like, I'm getting headaches, back pains, my posture's gone. Started seeing a chiropractor. I feel like I'm older than my age. I just was a mess, and it kind of happened progressively, and I just didn't see it coming. And I think I was just so out of sorts. I felt like I needed a change. And I think it was in that job I decided that I don't think I can live like this and do this, work this intensely anymore. So as I decided to scale back, so I said to my boss, I said, can I go part-time? It was not done before. I was a head of department. Thankfully, my work went before me. She said, you know what, I'm going to give you in the favor of God. I have to thank God. And she said, look, you can work 4 days a week and still be a head of department. I was like, great. I had the most successful year in that school I'd had, and that was on less days, which is crazy because I wasn't there as much. But I think just having that extra day, I said I was going to do lots of creativity and I didn't. I just rested and probably did a bit of marking, but it just gave me some breathing space again.
Yeah.
And then by the end of that year, I then left that school, went back to my old school, went 2.5 days, then went 2 days, and then I left. So that was like the career transition. And in that time I saved some money. I said, right, I'm going to do a master's. I'm going to leave. And I was doing courses. I just started exploring stuff and trying different things, different courses, just to open up my networks. And that then inevitably led to an audition with a drama school, which kind of happened by accident, but I guess it was probably, again, divine, because it wasn't part of the plan. And it was at the moment where I was going to choose between a master's, and they'd offered me a place on this part-time drama school. And my wife said, are you sure you don't want to do the acting? Because I feel like she kind of knew that was always something that was in me from young. But all I knew was institution. All I knew was you get up, you do a course, you go, I'm going to be a consultant. That's it. And I was going to go back to the same uni that I did my degree at. So I was just staying on that road.
Sort of familiarity.
Familiarity, bro. And it was at that point, I said, you know what? When she said that to me, I called the drama school and I said, is there any chance that I can do both? And the guy came back to me and said, listen, we can't. There's no way we can work it out. And the thing is, other people were doing that. So I thought, why can't it work out for me? But they said, there's no way you can do the masters and us fit you in the course. We can't change it. How would you like to proceed? And that was my sign that, okay, I need to lean into what's really true to me. So that was the career transition. Yeah. And I said, give me 2 years, Zara. And she gave me 2 years grace to kind of find myself and figure out what I was going to do, which leads to the. And in fact, I have skipped a step, but anyway, let me stop. I feel like I'm rambling.
It's intriguing. It's interesting to know because all I see is the outside, and it looks amazing. I don't know the internal struggles. I don't know the internal dialogues. I don't know any of that stuff. So to hear how you were academic enough to achieve all these things and go, I'm aimless here, because I felt aimless after leaving that school. And this is not me taking a slam on that school. I mean, that school probably wasn't, I don't know what Ofsted was saying at the time, but I'm sure it wasn't great.
Yeah, but we weren't at an outstanding school necessarily.
Far from. But it was just like, I think a lot of us left there, to use your terminology, aimless in terms of where we was going. And unless you had parents or a village around you that could sort of show you people that were working in certain industries to give you exposure to that, you were just going, I'll just do whatever. But you went through all that, you grafted, you had Miss Arnold believe in you, let you know that, you felt it.
Yeah, man.
And Zara, as amazing as she is, and for anyone who hasn't met Zara, she's an incredible human being. He's known her for pretty much all his life. She was a guest at one of my early episodes, if you want to go check that out. But I can't praise her high enough. She is an incredible individual, and these two are just made for each other. It's you've done that. She's supporting you. She hears you. She sees you. She understands you and gives you the opportunity to go, what is it you want to do? Yes, we got the family. Yes, we got me. Yes, we got their mortgage and them ones. But what do you want to do? And there's some people in certain relationships that will just go, I can't see you, even though because they can see them physically, they don't actually see them. They hear them making noise, but they don't hear what they're saying. And
Mm.
it's the fact that you have someone that sees you, hears you, and acknowledges you, and can understand that there might be a bit more that you're yearning for, and you're not getting it from where you're at. But she affords you that grace to go, what is it you would like to do? And not just ask you the question just for the sake of it. She asks you a question and paused long enough to hear you respond,
Yeah, man.
to do
100%.
it. And then you could then feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, you felt that you was able to say, she's not trying to trap me, because she's not that type of person.
100%.
It's a safe enough space to go, I would like to explore this.
100%.
Is it viable?
Yeah. 100%, bro. Like, that's spot on, man, because I know as a man, I would have, and as a husband and dad, I would have been going, right, I'm going to do what seems most sensible to do in my position and what other people would think is most sensible. Because, you know, I went through that whole people pleasing phase and, you know, listening to the voices of others and not really knowing what was my voice and what was other people's voices. It's even coming through church, and you've got parents' voices, community, then you've got church voices. And so I was in that whole boat. And I do think, had Zara not asked me that question, I think unequivocally I would have probably just done the masters, and I would have suppressed that desire again and just gone, you know what, that's that's just ridiculous, that's silly. Do you know what I mean? Like, going into creative arts and becoming an actor, even people that were in the arts were telling me, oh, why are you doing this? There's no money in this. Why are you doing? So it was just like, it wouldn't have seemed a sensible thing to do. What was how was I going to support my family? And I think, thankfully, what was really good is when I had started going part-time, I remember me and Zara had a conversation about our finances, and she spoke about, let's try and live on one salary. And that was really key for us, because it was like, okay, if we can live on one salary, or kind of just about one salary, then if any of us need to shift around, then at least we've got some wiggle room. And that, I think, was massive for me, because when I then managed to save some money, when I left teaching, it then meant we'd kind of managed for that couple of years, because we were used to living on less. So that was a real kind of, I guess, moment from Zara, which was really great. Let's say the man has ideas and the woman is the neck, right? So yeah. I do feel like, there's just so much that she gave me so much room to evolve, because who I am now is definitely not the person I was 10 years ago when I was a teacher and I was in the suit. And I barely wear suits now, bro. I think when I put them on, I think I've physically start to like not on my neck's hurting. Like I just don't really do suits very often. But I think it's just, I was a different person, and thank God she gave me room to evolve and kind of figure out who I was. And I'm sure there were moments where she probably was maybe even unsure, because it was so new. But I just felt so supported and, like you said, so seen. So I'm really grateful for that. And I think that, that just, I guess, came with the friendship that we'd had for so many years. We were just such good friends that she was able to really understand what was even in my heart before I even admitted it. And sometimes everyone just needs that, don't they? Someone to sort of affirm what's in their heart and their mind, and so they don't feel like they're deluded. Otherwise, you just feel a bit alone, which can feel like that way on the creative journey. And I still have those moments where I just think, gosh, I just feel like I'm a little bit alone in my head and I don't know what's going on. And reconnecting to, my wife and, someone who understands me has always been helpful for me. So that was a big, big moment.
And it is important to have someone that you can confide in. And I think some of us, we do test runs on strangers because there's no consequences with us saying what we say to a stranger. They will react a certain way and go, maybe I won't use that word. I'll swap it out with another word because I might get a better reaction if I say it to the missus, or whatever the case may be. And also, you're talking about being alone. So there's so many of us that are in a crowd, but we're feeling alone. We're in our house with the family, everyone there, but you feel alone because you can't talk to anybody. You can't confide anybody. You're going to be judged. And every time you want to say something, you've got to give a caveat, and you don't have enough time to do that stuff. So to be able to have someone who is living a similar life to you, I'm not going to say the same because different roles and stuff like that in terms of what you're doing, but to be able to go, what is it you'd like? I'm willing to listen.
Mm.
And yeah, she might be scared, but she's willing to support you because she knows that you helped her to be a better person than she was 10 years ago. So the least you can do is reciprocate that, or at least complement your efforts to help you become the person you're going to be. And I think that is something that a lot of people are looking for, whether they're grown, whether they're young or whatever. I think we're all secretly looking for someone. It doesn't have to be a partner per se. It just has to be someone in your life
100%.
who you feel like I can talk to, who will listen, who will
Yeah.
see, who will hear, who will acknowledge and validate what I'm feeling. I don't need you to say you understand, but I want you to understand that I'm feeling these things, and that's okay.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Definitely, definitely. And I think, at the different points in our life, we need that. When I was in school, Miss Arnold, for example, she helped me to feel seen, where I wasn't getting that necessarily creatively in all of the spaces I was in. She helped me to feel seen, and I think I needed that then. And then, once I kind of got to university and me and Zara started developing a relationship, that was a really great safe space for me. And of course, friends that would do the same. But I think, like you said, having your person that really gets you was so important. And even in a time when Zara went on maternity leave, I mean, she probably discussed it in her when she spoke to you, but obviously Love Literacy then was birthed, and she started and founded the tuition company, which again was just a really simple, she's visiting people's homes and teaching them. Then it became In the Shed, and then it was a big, now it's a company with staff, and it's a whole operation, which I'm also a part of. And that was another massive part why we had the freedom to kind of just maneuver around, because we'd had this company that she'd started. And Chris Rock has this, I can't remember what one it is, but he's got this special, and he talks about just learning how to play the tambourine and how
it's a special, it's called Tambourine. Yeah.
Oh, is that what it's called? There you go. Right. And it's like, when we watched that, we thought, oh my gosh, that it just really hit us so much, because we realized over the years, that's what we've had to do, is that when she's kind of been launching ahead, I've had to go, okay, let me play the tambourine and kind of be content with that. And then when it was my turn, she's like, okay, no, let me play the tambourine. And it's constantly just that flux of us back and forth playing the tambourine and having to just make that sacrifice, innit?
You each get your own moment to be a soloist.
That's it, man. That's it,
to be
man.
in the spotlight. You can't, not everyone could be hitting it.
That's it, bro. We can't all do the bass solo, man.
Nah. And the thing is, and I think that's the harmony that we're all trying to strike with those in our life, that, I think we're always constantly struggling to find our people, find our village, find our tribe. And it's hard because it's always moving parts in and out of seasons and so forth like that. But it's what we always endeavor, because, your kids have gone from being in primary school to going into secondary school. So where you thought, oh, cool, everything's set. And it's like, no. Why are you moving over there? And who's this friend? Now I've got to know the parents. And you got, all these different changes.
Have you been listening to our conversations?
No, trust me. I think about all these things many a times, but it's just the things that we have to go through. But it's just nice that, and I've said to many people when they're saying like, how long have you been in a relationship? Oh my gosh, you've been in a relationship for so long. And it's like, yeah. And it's like, I couldn't do dating nowadays. You know how many names I've got to try and remember? It's long. At least I've got one woman I've got to remember the name of, well, other than my daughter. And I'm good. I'm good. It's bad enough I get my cats confused with my children names. Like, Imogen, no. Oh, Milo, no. Chloe. It's honest. So today it's just long. It's just not there. And then you're dating all these different people. You don't know who they are, what they're about, what their values, what their morals, what their upbringing is like, and what their trajectories are in life. And then you got to suss all that out and work out they're a good partner for you. Whereas like when you're messing with too many people, you're going to get them confused and not. And I don't want to feel like I'm wasting my time and not trying to put off anyone from dating, because do what you got to do. But I think it's just finding a group of people who you can be as comfortable around as possible and who will complement your efforts towards being whoever you're trying to be. And I think that's a good place to start. And you've known Zara since day, because
man.
Because if I remember correctly, there was your mum, Zara's mum, and there was someone else, Shanika.
Shanika is Auntie Pet's daughter. So so
because they all came over together,
right,
been friends, but then your parents and her Zara's parents came together like next road to each other, just grew up together. Look, guys, I know his biology, right?
They went to school.
So he's known them. He's known the family for a long time. The family's known him. So
Yeah.
it's nice that they just kept that and just complimented each other. And,
Mm.
you know, it's not too late for anyone to find their person. But I think
Mm.
Zara and Kalai are definitely
Mm.
what we're kind of aspiring to. Whether they do it consistently all the time, probably not. But it's nice to believe they do.
No,
And you can see what happens when they actually put faith in one another and try and make it happen.
no, I
So
appreciate
with you doing all this work,
Mm.
getting there,
Mm.
finally going South London, going, yeah,
Mm.
I can do it. Let me drop my hours. Cool, it can happen. Do you know it's long? Let me go back here. I'm doing 3 days. I'm doing 2.5 days. I'm then doing 2 days. I'm gonna change course and do something
Mm.
else. And then you can't merge these two together. Can't make it happen. No, other people are doing it. But okay, cool. So I've got to jump all in, whether it be one or the other. And you decided you're gonna go all into auditioning.
Mm.
You've done that course. You did whatever you need to do to make that work for you, the missus, the family, love literacy, and all that rest of it. You've come out the other side of it. You've got your qualification. You're feeling, I can do this because I'm validated by this piece of paper.
Mm.
Cool. Let me go for my audition. How did that feel?
Okay. So the gag is, bro, the first audition that I didn't get was actually whilst I was teaching, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, bro. So I was at my second, I think this might have been when I'd gone back to my school part-time, possibly, or just before. It might have been before. But anyway, during a period of time, the show Hamilton was coming over to the UK, which, you know, we both love.
Hamilton is amazing. For anyone that hasn't watched it, go
Oh,
watch
Lord,
it.
come on.
Disney Plus at the least.
Been under a rock if you haven't seen it yet.
Go and see it in the theatre.
I've seen that too many times.
The whole lyric side, it's like, yeah, it's got to be done.
Too many times. So I've gone to audition for this show because they were doing open calls. I'm a teacher, no training, or not since college anyway. And, you know, I was just like, okay, my friend was like, I've got a friend called Ian Miller and he loves the show and he put me onto it and he said, right, they're doing open calls. Give it a shot, because I'd always be singing in the office and stuff. So I thought, I don't know. So I thought, okay, let me give it a shot. And I think I had to submit a tape of me singing. And then lo and behold, they said, oh, come in for an audition, like a recall. So I was beside myself. I thought, okay, I've been listening to the soundtrack. The show sounds great. It was all very new, but I'd never done an audition. I hadn't auditioned for years. The last time I auditioned like that for theatre, I was, I think, 14. So
was
I was
like a Hackney Empire sort of thing.
Yeah, it was like something at the Hackney. So I was like, what is this? So I've gone to this audition. I actually remember talking to my boss, my head teacher, and thinking, she's going to think I'm crazy. I said to her, look, this is just a bit of a pipe dream. I've always wanted to be a performer. Hamilton, I love the show. It's coming over. I've managed to get a recall. Can I go? And she said, you know what? Yeah. You know, she gave me the time off. I was like, I respect it. I went down to the audition, prepared my song. I think I sang You Do Something by Paul Weller. I had a really nice sultry version. Did the song. Felt really great. And then after I'd finished singing it, didn't feel so great because I was like, I don't really know what that was. And I think it, you know, I sang the song well, but I don't think I know how to audition for theatre and like musical theatre.
Yeah.
Even more so. So yeah, I just didn't hear anything back. And I was so gutted, bruv. Like I was just so, and I wasn't used to the world of theatre where sometimes you just don't hear back. Like if you've done maybe 1 or 2 rounds or you haven't got down the line, you just don't hear back. And I didn't have an agent. I didn't really know about that. So I was so gutted. And I just remember feeling so disappointed. And I was sending emails and checking in and saying, you know, how, like, what's going on? Have we heard anything? And then I remember when they cast the show and I saw that it had already been cast. And of course, with people that knew what they were doing. And I just remember feeling really gutted. And then I started watching more musical theatre then. And I remember seeing Motown at the theatre with my wife. And I just remember feeling so inspired because I saw Cedric Neal and he was playing Berry Gordy, and I was just so blown away by his performance and his voice. And for the first time, I thought, oh my gosh, I saw something on stage that I could see myself doing. So when I had this audition, all of those experiences were just tied in. And I think what it revealed to me was that, oh, this is actually what my heart would love to do. And it was almost like my moment of admitting to myself that I've been doing this career for so many years and I've just ignored this creative child in me that wanted to be a creative. And I now can't remember if it was when I was before I'd left to do my head of department or after, but I think it might have been before I'd left for my third school. But anyway, I fast forward, and I think that experience definitely pushed me closer towards knowing that, okay, I now know that there is something on stage that I could see myself doing. And I think Hamilton being the show it is, with the hip hop, with the rap, it was my element. Right, bro. Like, it was just my element. I thought I could, I'd seen musical theatre before, but I didn't see shows that I could imagine myself in. So when I'd finished studying identity, I did a show in this, like the December, like a play. And then I had an agent by that point, because I managed to sign up with my agent after my showcase in the summer of 2019. And I said, like, Lord, I'm running out of money now, because this money I've saved is running out. So I need to start working again. Maybe I need to go and do some supply teaching, which I didn't really want to do, but I thought I'll do it if I have to. And then an audition for the West End show came up, the Book of Mormon. And I did about 7 rounds, I think, of auditioning. It was so intense. And I managed to book the show. I booked that show right at the end of I think it may have been September, between September and, it was around September, actually. I booked the show, or maybe even October. And I knew that I was going into the new year in January to start rehearsals for that show. So that was my first West End. That was my professional debut in the West End. It was intense. It was crazy. I was getting nosebleeds on the train because my body was in shock. I had like a chest infection. I was like, what's going on? And my body says, what are you doing? Yes, you're a singer. Yes, you're an actor. But like singing, dancing, musical, what is this? I've got so much respect for musical theatre performers. But I do think having that kind of like heartbreak when I did the Hamilton thing and I was very green, I think it just prepared me and gave me that thick skin of like, hey, like, what's the worst that can happen? I can get rejected. They can say no. And I think it kind of gave me a bravery of, okay, I'm just going to go into the room. I'm just going to leave it all in there. Obviously, I'd done the training by then, so I was more prepared. But I was really about kind of like just owning my mistakes and moving forward. So my first audition for the Book of Mormon, I remember I was singing Lately and by Stevie Wonder, and the pianist started the tune and I gave him a score and he started the song. And I think the first line that came out was "Le," and then I just didn't sing the word. And I stopped and thought, oh no, I've really screwed this up. So I stopped for a minute. I looked at the panel and I said, hey guys, that's the remix I've been working on, but let me now sing you the actual song. And we had a little bit of a laugh. And then I sang the song properly. And then I got to the next round. And I think it just taught me a lot about like just owning your mistakes, because even if you go into a room, you just got to book the room. Like, it doesn't matter what's going to happen afterwards. I've got no control over what the decision they're going to make. There's so many variables, and it's very rarely anything personal, anything you've done wrong in the room. And I think that gave me like a groundedness and a confidence with the training that I then had since then, to just kind of stand in my authority and go, actually, hey, here I am. Yeah, I made a mistake, but I'm still here and I'm still going to do this audition. I'm still going to do my best. And I think that served me in the rehearsal room when I didn't know my arse from my elbow, because they were doing routines and talking about pliés and different moves. And I was just, my head was going, routines, like, can you leave me alone now? Because I did my first week and I was like, yeah, I've got this down. Songs, I've got this calm, harmonies. What? I've been doing this in church for years.
Yeah,
cool.
I've been in a boy band.
You know what I mean? I'm like, what? Yeah. Harmonies, what? I can learn lyrics. Yeah, cool. Music, boom. Air strong, cool. Acting, all right, cool. Yeah, I've got that. No problem. Then they were like, oh yeah. And then there's like some routines. And I was like, routines? I thought this wasn't a dancey show. And it was just like, it was a lot. It was a lot. It was intense. But that 4 weeks, I think, prepared me for the rest, for my career afterwards. I think I was so in the deep that to survive that and come out of that and actually make my professional West End debut. And I kid you not, that night when we had our first show, I was petrified, because there were routines when I was on the front row, and I'm telling him, half of my brain is going, what are you doing on the front row in a West End show? You should be in the classroom. Yeah, you should be teaching. Go and teach go mark your books and teach your lesson, because that's what you were doing like 2 years ago. And it was almost a surreal experience. I think it was like an out of body experience, but thank God I got through the show. And yeah, that's kind of the story of, I guess, like my origin story to some degree.
Well, that's incredible though, because I think a lot of us have that pipe dream that we wish we could pursue for one reason or another. And it was a very prominent voice when we was younger. It was a very prominent voice when we didn't have so much going on, we didn't have as much responsibilities and so forth for that. I can't necessarily speak for this generation where you have your phone in your hand pretty much most of the time. I'm guilty of it.
Yeah.
But because you and I grew up in the 80s and 90s, we didn't have phones. Phones didn't come out until the late 90s to like the regular consumers. And I mean, my first mobile phone was a Siemens phone. Like, come on, Siemens don't make phones no more. Come on now. But it was the fact that you had that free time, the half terms, the 6 weeks holidays, summer break, and then ones to have that time to work out what is it you like, what is it you want to do. Yeah, you want to be a sportsman. We all want to be sports people, but other than that, what is it you want to do? Yeah. And I think obviously when you go into the corporate world, it's very easy to just do copy paste. You get paid 12 months a year. You're good. Copy paste. I make a mistake, quick, erase that, do it again, copy paste. But when you want to do something, your heart just would fly at any given moment. It will jump off a cliff at any given moment. You're like, but what are you doing? It's like, yeah, but look at the view. Look at the potential I have of soaring and descending and just having the freedom to do what I want. That's gone because we've kind of numbed it. We've kind of gagged it and gone, just do what you need to do because this is paying bills. You thankfully came across a point where you're able to hear that voice once again. But if I was to say go back to when you're just doing work, you've been doing it for a while, clearly doing very well because at your second school you said that kind of helped you become the person that you was an authoritarian in that role. What was it that allowed that door to suddenly be open for you to go, not only am I going to entertain you, I'm actually going to put myself out there, even though I don't know what I'm doing because I've never been in this space before.
So it's interesting because I think like seeds were planted whilst I was in education, and I think that was mainly when I was sort of 2 days a week. I started doing these Guardian masterclasses, and they were just, I remember doing one on my birthday, which is a bit random, but it was just an opportunity to, and just to try new things. So I was doing courses that were about how to run a business, or courses on songwriting, or just courses on how to write a newspaper article. It was just like different things. And I think I wanted to open up my brain and just give myself capacity for more, to go, okay, come out of the bubble of teaching and this kind of like you said, this sort of straitjacket view of copy and paste. This is what we do day to day. These are your targets. This is where we're going to be at the end of the year. And I wanted to experience something that felt a little bit less just safe and samey, and I know where this is going. And I needed that. So I'm meeting new people. And I think that just made me realize that I think I did one Guardian masterclass that was about the portfolio career. And it spoke about this new way of working where there's lots of different things you're interested in. And that opened me up because I realized, so actually where I've kind of gone, well, this is what I do. I'm a teacher and this is the job I'm going to do. This is how much I get paid. This is my profession and my skill set. I then realized, well, actually there's lots of things I'm interested in. And maybe I want a life that is a little bit more of a cocktail of things. Because I was so multifaceted, and being a teacher, I'd almost like, I'd kind of, put out the fire on some of those creative interests. I no longer was feeding them. And I think when I did that course in particular, it really challenged me to think about what my life would look like if I'd gone down this portfolio career route, and what different interests I could pursue and how my relationship with money would change. So I think that was really key. And then when I then obviously left teaching and then started doing a little bit of supply whilst I was training at drama school, and then I decided to just go all in. I was like, you know what, if I'm going to do this, because I started writing again, and I think I started performing again at the showcases at drama school, and realizing, oh my gosh, I was just getting such a buzz from it. I threw myself in. I was the classroom president. I was going to every extra class. I was doing the extracurriculum stuff. I was doing everything that I could to squeeze the orange juice out of the experience. And I think it made me realize just how much of it was connecting to just who I was as a person and a creative. So when I then So then when I then had my final showcase and I then got signed to my agent, I was actually in a really interesting headspace because I said to myself, okay, I was going to this meeting, had the really successful showcase. And interestingly, before that, my first showcase didn't go so well because we'd all got caught up in this idea of, we could get signed, we can get signed. And I was in 2 scenes, I remember. And my drama teacher, my tutor had given me 2 scenes and said, look, you're a safe pair of hands. I think you're really competent. And I think you do well in these 2 scenes. So like, go for it. And I think I just got ahead of myself and just didn't really, I think I was overthinking, probably overperforming, probably doing too much. Don't think I was listening to my scene partners very well, which isn't great to do as an actor on stage. So it just didn't work out for me. And I think I was so gutted. I was in that really kind of deep place of, is this even for me? Like I didn't, and then you can move up to like another tier after your showcase. And I was just like in the same one. And I just felt really gutted and really disappointed that I'd forgotten why I'd gone there, because I said to myself, I'm going here to learn about myself and I'm not interested in all of the lights and stuff. I'm just going to just learn. But I got caught up. So then when I then was getting ready for the summer showcase, I then had to delve back into like, why am I here? And then reconnected to that again, and then had a really successful showcase in the summer. And then when I was going into that agency meeting, I think my mindset at the time was like, okay, well, they sign me. If they don't, they don't. Like I'm ready to move on and leave and just carve out my path, whether in the industry, like whatever that looks like. And I think there was something really special about being in that place because I was no longer looking for someone else to validate me. I was like, I know who I am, or I understand enough about who I am and the kind of artist that I think I'm working towards being. And that was definitely key going forward. So I then kind of was just, I think things just started to kind of piece itself together in this puzzle, and all of the stuff I did when I was part-time doing those courses and all of the training just all kind of came together and it started to make sense. And I thought, I'm right where I need to be. So when I signed with the agent, I was like, okay, let's go. Let's see what happens. Yeah.
So that's interesting because that sounds very similar to how when I talk to people about trying to secure a job or getting a promotion or doing whatever, I've encouraged them. This is because this happened to me many years ago. So when I was in banking, I had an opportunity. I was headhunted by another bank to leave. And because I was vexed with my current employer, because they were blocking me from getting promotion for a number of different reasons, I was like, cool. And they said, why do you want to leave? I was in such an unpleasant place.
Wow.
I couldn't be professional about it. I was being honest to a level you shouldn't be honest.
Right.
And then it was sort of like, when I got feedback, it was like, basically because of how I was regarding that question.
Wow.
And I now know going forward that if you don't like a situation, remove yourself from it before it gets to that point where when you're trying to sell yourself, you're so vexed, you're so been around poison so long that's now in your veins. You're now seeping it, and it's just not great. And no one wants to touch your barge pole, because I know you come to my company if you're toxic like that. You're mad. My place is good. I don't need this coming in here and making it toxic. No. So I'll always say to people, move on. And if you're going to apply for a job, do it while you don't need the money or you don't want the promotion, because you'll be in a much better state of mind where you can give the best version of yourself, because you're going there going, I got nothing to lose. I've got everything to gain, nothing to lose, and it's a good place to be in. And it sounds like that's pretty much how you got to that next time you went round on it, because you was like, I kind of feel like it is what it is, let me go. But I'd like to think, and I want you to help me understand it, as eloquent as you are explaining that, I'd like to think you wasn't always there, because when you spoke to, was it your head of year at the time, when you asked for the time off, or head of department?
So the head teacher.
The head teacher, and you asked for the time off. This is something very personal to you. And now you're going to share that with someone outside of your trusted circle. Now, what they say or do not say potentially could have a knock-on effect to you, because once you tell them, they now have that information to do with it as they please, regardless of what you say. I know I'll get paranoid about that, but it depends on how much I want this versus am I going to let that bother me that much? How was it for you when you decided you was going to ask the question? Because some people have said, I'm calling in sick and I'm going to go. The correct way to follow the process and go, hey, can I have a word? How did that go for you?
And you know what? It's funny because I'm pretty sure there probably was a moment where I thought maybe I should just call in sick. I feel like I must have thought that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, being the Christian man that I was, I thought, okay, let me do it the right way. And I think I wanted to be at peace with it, obviously, when I was there. And you never know. I thought you never know who's going to catch me in central London or something. Like I'm the guy that someone's going to see. What's Mr. Muirhead? But yeah, it was a very vulnerable moment. You're right. That's very, very perceptive, really, because I was sharing a piece of my heart, really, in that moment. And I think when I told them, I probably sort of made it sound a bit silly, like, oh, it's just a pipe dream. Like, it's just a pipe dream. It's just like something I'm going to try. And I would probably imagine that they listened to me and thought, okay, he's probably bonkers, but we're just going to let him go because, he's a man with a dream and he's being honest with us. But I think, I think there's something about me that played it down because actually there's a part of me that was probably embarrassed to still have those dreams and even understand what the currency of dreams were for a man in his late 30s to be walking into an institution that is very sensible and very professional and be telling my boss that, hey, I want to go and audition for musical theatre. I haven't had any training since I was in college, but yeah, I'm just going to go down and just have a sing song in a room with some people and see if I can get into Hamilton. The show that just came from Broadway? Yeah, that one. There's something about it that just is so audacious that I wasn't used to being as audacious as that. I didn't grow up. Of course, like had successes in pockets, but in terms of my mindset, that for me would have been a very audacious move.
Do you think that you didn't have the right to potentially be there, to occupy that space?
Exactly that. Like, what right do I have to be coming into this space and doing this now? Like, who do I think I am? And again, who do I think I'm even sharing this with this head teacher who probably thinks it's a little bit silly because I'm a grown man with children and I'm married and
all the responsibilities. Yeah.
Yeah, man. There was all of that going on. But it was thankfully they were understanding enough. Which is bizarre. It is bizarre.
I think you'll find that there's a lot of people, and I was going to say it's later, but I'll probably say it now. But I think you'll find there's a lot of people that have respect for those people that say the thing that you say because they would like to do what you've done. But for a number of reasons, they took themselves out of it. I know this person who's taken a year-long career break. And a lot of people are like, what are you doing? You're mad. But the reality is that they've done something that other people wish they could do. They could take a year without salary to rediscover their passion. Rediscover that they're good at they're very good at what they do. But they're saying, I'm just not there anymore. And I don't want to be cynical about my job. I don't want to be coming in half-hearted. I want to either do my job 100 or don't do it at all. And he's got to a point where I just need to find that passion again, taking a break, and even left the area, gone from being close to where we live up north.
Wow, sometimes you need that change, don't you?
Just sold up the house, and so it wasn't even like I'm renting. I've sold my house.
Wow,
and I'm up there now, and it's kind of like people might think I'm crazy. I'm like, there's people looking at you going, I wish I had that level of trust in my own ability, the faith in my own ability. Like I don't know if I said it on here before or not, but I took redundancy from working in the bank, and I promise you, my missus, the options was stepping down from the role I was as a relationship manager to a personal banker, but the office I got wouldn't be the office I was working at the time. I got the redundancy. I changed roles. Or I stay on a secondment as working from home for an extra year, and I got an extra year's worth of redundancy added onto it. Or I just took redundancy. I was like, I'm going to work an extra year because Avery was only a year at the time. And I'm like, I just got a child, got a mortgage, got 2 cars. Like, what am I doing? And literally walked in there on the last day where I had to tell them what I want to do. Time I'm taking redundancy. And my missus didn't find out until I got home and told her. And she was okay with it.
Bro.
But it was a matter, every time I worked it out, it was like, they're going to pay me 3.5 weeks for every year I've worked, and I've worked there 15.5 years. Plus, I would have to give them 6 months notice. They're going to pay me for 5 months of that. Give me my money. Give me my money. How long do I have to wait before I can reapply for the job again? 6 months. I commit to my last 6 months. It's cool. I worked it all out, and it just made
Mm.
sense that I did that. And those people, like my boss, knew it was a good idea, but she didn't take it. She went a different route, and then she didn't still took redundancy later on, but she missed out on that payout section of it. And it's like I
Right.
backed myself in
Right.
ways that other people wouldn't necessarily do it. And don't get me wrong, I didn't have a job to go into.
Mm.
It took me about 4 or 5 months to get one.
Mm.
Thankfully, I'm still in a job and I've progressed so
Mm.
far. But you
Mm.
sometimes just need to back yourself. I liken it to you're walking forward, you're building a bridge and walking on it at the same time. Sometimes you use nails, sometimes you use glue,
Mm.
sometimes you use prick sticks, sometimes you use gum in your mouth and just sticking it on there. And you want to make sure these steps are functional and can hold support. But you got your kids jumping up and down. It's like, I'm gonna have a heart attack, kids. And you look back and you see your peers and they're in the distance and some of them are cussing you, but you can't hear them because they're too far away. And they look at you going, how dare you? And it's like, don't get vexed at me because of where I am. Because I remember, do you know how many heart attacks I've had in this journey? And if you want to stay where you are, that's a decision
Mm.
you've made. This journey I'm on is a
100%.
personal, intimate one, and only us that are involved know how strenuous it is. And I think you going through what you've
100%.
explained shows all the different components. Don't get wrong, it's not every single detail about every single thing you've done, but it shows
Of course.
how it's not as clear as going, yeah, I'm going to do this and that's it. It's like, when did it start? When did you start to start believing in yourself again? And when did you decide that you're going to share that then with someone outside of you? Because even that's very intimate, even if it is your person, you know, how they're going to react, especially if you've got things like new babies, because that's a brand new dynamic to your household. And Morgan, you're thinking, oh gosh, what's mum going to say? Oh my gosh, what's dad going to say? Do you know what? I'm a grown man. Why am I fearing for people? You say, you look at them and go, do you know what? It's not even, it's all these things.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you handled it very, very well, despite the nerves and the potential self-doubt that might have crept in at certain points. But when you went to audition, did your thing, and then you didn't hear back because it was just tumbleweed. How long after the audition did you feel before it felt its worst in terms of, I ain't got this?
I think it's, because it was like a week had gone by and then it was a couple of weeks. Maybe at the 3-week mark, I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll find something out. And I think probably past the sort of 3-week mark, I started thinking, oh man, I'm not going to hear back, am I? And then there's obviously, of course, they started drip feeding information about the casting process and the rehearsals, and I thought, okay, this isn't happening. But yeah, it took a little, I would say at least 3 weeks for the penny to really drop and it to really sink in, and for me to just feel. I remember sitting in the car driving to work or something, and I was just so gutted, man. But I look back and think, oh my gosh, the amount of rejections I've had and no's and not yet's I've had. I've got a whole list of, because I track every audition that I've had since 2020, right up until now. So I've got like hundreds of auditions from over the years, and most of them are not yet to no's. A handful of them, or some, I've got lots of yeses, but most of them are no's, and that's just a part of the journey in the job. But back then, I just didn't know that.
Telling that head teacher, because you shared a special part of yourself with that teacher.
I was telling her that it wasn't that it didn't. I don't think I even had to tell her, bro, because I'm trying to work out if she even asked me. I think she asked me how it went, and I said, oh, it went well. And then I think I might have had, maybe my friend might have asked me how like, have I heard anything back? But I think I don't remember having a conversation with her. And I think it was one of those things where it was like, okay, I think my theory is they just thought, because I remember I spoke to the head teacher and the deputy head at the same time. And it was a real kind of moment. And I think it was all a bit of a, like a gimmick. You know what I mean? So I think to them, it was, we're going to let him go and do this experiment. And he's going to come back and he's going to get on with his job. And I feel like that's probably what they always knew. But me being kind of naive and green-eyed was just like, hey, I'm just going to give it a trot, and you never know what happens. I might end up on stage playing Burr. Whoa. Do you know what I mean?
But then, did you know at one point did ego never come into play? Because you don't strike me as an egotistical person, but but I'm saying, but with your immense amount of talent, I'll be feeling myself. The amount of people that are gassing you, I was one of them. But it's hard not to have
you know what, though,
a bit of ego. But it's just the whole. I'm driving in my car. it's just dawned on you. Ain't happening, and then you think, oh, I don't want to talk to people about it now because that's just
Okay,
not.
yes.
What's mum
Okay.
gonna say? What's dad
Yeah.
gonna? I told you so. I don't need to hear
Yeah.
the words. What's Zara gonna say? What's
Yeah. Yeah. So I hear what you're saying. You know what? That particular audition, I don't think I told very many people that I did it. And maybe that was part of my ego. I was just kind of like just keeping it quiet and not wanting to say too much. But there was definitely like an element of maybe like vulnerability and kind of feeling a bit embarrassed because like, oh gosh, what was I thinking? Like, why did I put myself like what did I think? What did I think was going to happen? Now, of course, I believed in my talent, and I thought, okay, just maybe, just maybe. So there was probably a point where I did definitely feel a bit silly for even believing that it could be a thing, and I think that's definitely why. Because I remember there was an audition. I went for that was it. I went for a recall where I was in the room and they were getting me to do. I think it might have been like maybe like round 3 because I'd flirted with the show twice. I think as a teacher, it was twice. I think they'd done this open call thing. So I went into the room and I'd tried a few of the tracks like Burr and some like Washington tracks, and I just went in and I was just singing the songs. And I think what I did, which is what I guess lots of people do when they haven't had very much training, and I'd gone in, I just tried to mimic what I heard and saw on TV, right? Mimic what I'd seen the other performers do and what I thought was what they were looking for. And I look back and I cringe because it was just
not
like just
original,
not it.
not
Do you know what I
you.
mean?
It was
Like, and it's
just
not.
copy paste.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, yeah, okay, you can see, you can know the tune, but it's so much more than that. And I think I look back at those moments and just think, oh man,
Yeah.
like cringe. But I guess what it taught me was the importance of doing the work. And I think after that, it then meant when I did go back to study, I was all in.
When was your lowest point following that realization you weren't getting it?
I think it was just a silence of just sending emails and not hearing anything back. Maybe it's kind of 3-4 weeks down the line. And then I think when they announced the cast and they were, you know, putting all that stuff up, I was just so gutted. And I think that at that point, it felt so far away from me. I think where I thought it was so close when I was in the recall and I got like to the second round, of like, how have I even done that? You know, and maybe got into my head a bit like, oh, you know, I managed to get to the second round. Maybe this can happen. And then realizing that actually this isn't going to happen. And there's about 7 rounds that everyone else had to go through to even get the job. And I then thought, oh, and I think that was the moment where I thought, okay, this feels so much further away than I even realized and imagined. It was more than an audition or two. We're talking about 7 rounds of hard work, a dance call, a movement call, another, you know, ensemble call, whatever, you know, all the different levels that you go through to do a show. Sometimes you do multiple dance calls, multiple auditions, singing the same stuff and performing the same material, but there's maybe 1 or 2 extra people sitting on the panel, and you can do that all 3-4 times. And then they've got people coming over from the States, and so there's so many rounds and levels. And yeah, that moment, it just felt so much further away from me than I'd imagined, than I'd realized.
And then at your lowest point during that low,
Yeah.
did you react negatively in terms of, was you more short-tempered with people? Was you angry towards the job you was doing because that's not the career you now wanted? You wanted something else? Was you resentful for the path you'd taken? Because there are so many people that just, once they find out what they really want to do, they sometimes resent what led them up to that point.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, I definitely think I was definitely thinking things like, "Gosh, man, I wish I'd started earlier. What if I'd taken a slightly different path?" And then I was then more aware of things like, "Okay, you can go to drama school. Oh my gosh, like why didn't I try this earlier? What if I'd gone and left teaching a bit earlier? Like what? Like all those thoughts are coming in my head." And then I did the really terrible thing which you should never do. And I was like, then compare like seeing who'd been cast and going, oh my gosh, but maybe I could have done a better job, which is just foolish because I 100% couldn't have. Certainly not at that time. Like there was no way I would even be ready to be on a stage in musical theatre. So I was just doing that really negative thing and like really sinking into negative thought patterns about the whole thing. And then probably feeling a bit angry that they hadn't gotten back to me because I wasn't used to that world. So I think I felt really, and I'm used to, you go to an interview, You do the interview, you know how it is. They feed back and they tell you you haven't got the job or you have got the job. And I'd been really my success rate with teaching jobs have been really good because most of the jobs I went for, like I did my first school, I trained there, I then worked there. Then I applied for a job for my second school. I got the job. I applied for a couple of head of department roles, and one of the ones I applied for, like I got that job. I was so used to getting jobs because I was good at my job that I expected to hear back and even be successful. So not hearing back was really hard for me, and I just didn't get it. And I thought it felt so. I felt like I'd put myself out there, and then just nothing back at all. And that I found it hard to get my head around that. And I think I definitely felt a bit resentful about that experience.
How does our take to that?
I think that's a really good question. I don't have vivid memories of how that was. I probably think I was probably a bit moody. I'm pretty sure I must have been a bit moody around them times. But I mean, I had my job to keep me going. So I did what I do, which is what I'm very good at, which is to compartmentalize. I've been told that I do that. And I just kind of go and put something in the back of my head, which can be a good thing if you need to be high performing in a particular area and you need something not to get in the way. But it's not always a good thing because it then means sometimes I can compartmentalize things and then not deal with it. And I think that was what wasn't healthy, is me not dealing with the reality that actually that's what you really want to do. That's what you want to do. That is where your heart is. But I just carried on going and just kind of, okay, well, I'm just going to keep on teaching. Maybe this is, but suppressing all of that desire to be on stage and to perform and feeling like, okay, well, maybe it's not, maybe it's too late. I told myself that for so long. Maybe I'm too old.
It's interesting because when it comes to things like that, compartmentalizing things is something that I would like to think every gender does. I can speak for men more so than women because I identify as one.
Yeah, man.
But it's just, I think a lot of trouble comes from doing it for a prolonged period of time.
That's right. Yeah.
And I don't know this is factual, but I would like to think this might have been a potential possibility in a situation. So you followed your heart because your missus heard you, saw you, acknowledged you, understood the yearning of something more than what you're doing. Cool. Cal, what is it you want to do? I want to do this. You take a punt. You're not feeling it. You're vexed. Now you're going to a job that you don't really like. I now know you don't like it because you're very moody about it.
Yeah,
and
cool.
I know you're going to a job. You're doing a great job, but you're not giving it the same energy you did before I allowed you the time to do it. You're somewhat distracted because anytime you get a spare moment, you're thinking about what could have been. How do I get there? Why didn't I do it a different way? Why, if I took a different path, would I have got there quicker than I am now?
Yeah, man.
Now I've got to wait so many years before I can even get there if I'm really going to do it. And all these people got child prodigies that started from when they were in school days. And here I am, like you said about your age, I'm coming up.
Yeah.
What is it? What is it? And, she could have then been saying, well, that's not happening again because that's making me feel vulnerable.
Right.
It's that sounds like a very, very techie situation, for lack of a better term. With all that done, you've decided I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to do something today that my future self's going to thank me for. How did you motivate yourself to get yourself out of the lull you was in to get there? Versus what would you actually say to yourself as the version of yourself you are today to go back in time and say, listen.
So how did I get? You know what? I think it was just time. It just was time. I think over time, the awful feeling that I had inside just faded away, and I just had to give it time. And I think that was a real sign to me that it felt like there was nothing I can do to just make myself feel better. Like I just had to wait it out and just kind of go back to the routine of what I was doing. And I guess after that, I did then do my head of department job. I then left my school and the school I was at, and then, which was again one of my greatest experiences, and then went and did the head of department role. And I think I was then I was desiring something more. So I remember I went for a job. I went for a job for an assistant head job at the Brit School, which is obviously a performing arts school. And for me, that would have been the closest thing to being near the industry that I could, because it's a performing arts school. So, okay, if I can't be in the arts, then I'll just
be around it.
Exactly. And I was a second in department, so I wasn't even a head of department. Now, typically, they would say you should be a head of department or a head of year and be in one of those middle management roles before you try and jump to assistant head. Me, I was like, I'm just whatever. I'm just trying it. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna. And my mate Miller going, yeah, man, go for it. I applied for the job, and they were doing it through an agent, and they had an agency employed to put out the job role. I got a call. It was like, coming for an interview. I was like, huh? Okay. And I embellished that personal statement to high heaven. Every experience was like...
Before AI came about, you was on it.
I was on it. That was like Kalai GPT. I just rinsed it, bro. So I've gone into this interview, and I had such a great experience. I didn't get the job because I didn't have the experience. But I just had such a great moment meeting these two older kind of like white gentlemen. And I remember one of them he was like a sort of consultant, and he was asking me some really pressing questions, and they were really trying to help me to get the answers that I needed to get to the next stage, because they want to put people forward for the job.
Yeah.
But I remember him saying, it's been really interesting meeting you, and I really think like hold on to your moral compass. And they since called me and said, hey, you haven't got through to the next round. We thought you were brilliant, but you just don't have the experience. And I felt so affirmed, bro, at that moment, because I realized that I needed something more. And where I enjoyed the school I was at, I'd become complacent. And doing the Hamilton thing took me out of my shell and gave me a new experience that I wasn't used to, took me out of my comfort zone. So I was now going, well, what am I going to do now to get me out of my comfort zone? Like, I'm just going to do the same thing. So I then said, okay, I need more. And I think that is why I then started looking for head of department roles and changed my school, because I realized that I was becoming complacent. And I thought, right, if I don't change something, I'm just going to end up staying here until I'm 60, retiring, or maybe until I'm 50 maybe, and I'm just not want to do anything else. And I became afraid of applying for new jobs. And I was like, nah, this isn't good. Because I'd never been in that place before. I was like, nah, this isn't good. Well, I have been, but years before when I was much younger. And I said, yeah, I need to change something.
So that's what you did to get yourself in a better place.
100%. Yeah.
What would you say to your younger self now, knowing all that life doesn't change whatever you say at this point, but if you went back to your lowest point following that first audition that just didn't go the way you want it to, what would you have to say to yourself to get yourself back on the right track, to say, like, not even say, get you back on the right track, to get you in the right direction, at the right pace to do what you need to do?
I probably would have said something along the lines of my life mantra, which is small steps, big moves. And one of the things I realize is that over the years is that change never really happened. There's no overnight success. We talk about overnight successes and we think, oh my gosh, that person and if maybe it does happen to some people, they get discovered overnight or whatever, but actually discover yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like, go on your own journey of self-discovery. I'll be saying to Kyle, go on your own journey of self-discovery, learn who you are, invest in yourself, and play the long game. Because there's no quick fix. And I think what I was doing when I was trying to go for that Hamilton thing is I was looking for the quick fix. Someone to notice me and to go, oh my gosh, this guy's got something. Let's sign him up and nurture him. Whereas actually, what I then ended up doing was going on this long journey of self-discovery and training and courses and everything, which was about, call it a 3-4 year process really, but it was incremental changes that then meant I could stand firmly in who I was, because I was like, okay, this is taking time to cook. I haven't just rushed out of the house, put myself in the microwave and there's some hot spots and some cold bits. Actually, I've taken time to cook this soup so that I am ready when the opportunity arises. And I think that is what I would tell myself, is just get ready so that when the opportunity comes, you can walk in it confidently and boldly. Yeah.
Would you have heard yourself? Do you think that version of you would have gone, yep, hear you, dust myself off, crack on? Or would you think you'd have to present it in a different way or express it in a different way?
Potentially. I think with more knowledge. I think at the time I was quite green. I didn't really know much about the performing arts industry then, so I think maybe I would have been a little bit cynical or a bit like, I don't know. Let me sort of stick to what I know because I mean, this is what's paying the bills. But I think had I been presented with options like, okay, well, actually, there's this course you can do, and actually, you don't have to study for 3 years. You can do a 1 year course, or there's this part-time drama school here, which is what I did in the end. So I think had I been presented with options, I think I would have been open to, oh, maybe I can go part-time a bit earlier and maybe train on the side, for example. I think that would have been a balance I might have struck at that point.
That's probably one of my favorite questions I asked during these podcast episodes, because I understand that we can be very eloquent in how we say things. Oh yeah, I think we should do this and do that. And oh yeah, great answer. But I'm not hearing that. I mean, I'm not in a good place right now. And you want to start saying that? Go away, please.
100%.
But how is it you would need to convey? And you've just explained in a way of what you potentially say. I need options.
Yeah.
So I know that I'm not stuck in this position forever and a day. There are options. Yes, I may not like the idea. It might take 4 years. But maybe there's little things I can do between now and then. And you're saying, cool, this ain't okay. The flame's not all the way out. There's still embers burning away. How do I feed that and let it grow into the fire that it could become, so that I am on stage eventually and living the life that I hope to live, or I'm grateful to be living?
Yeah, 100%, man. And there was definitely part of me where I was just sort of, I guess, kind of going on that journey, like what you said about the bridge, you kind of walking and building it at the same time. There was like a lot of that going on. That's such a fantastic analogy, because I do feel like I was just kind of plodding along and not really knowing how it was going to end up and whether or not I would even end up on stage or doing this thing. But I'm just here to, and I think I told myself, I'm just going to learn about who I am and discover myself. And I think that was a way for me to not hold on to this idea that, oh, I'm going to be on stage or I'm going to be in the movies, mum. Like, I'm just going to learn about myself. And I was comfortable with that. I thought, okay, that's all my brain can manage right now, because if I hold on to anything more, then I'm just going to be hoping for this stuff that's beyond my control. So I had to almost even approach drama school with, okay, it's just one day at a time. I'm just learning. And after this, I might still go back and do consultancy or maybe do some teaching. I don't know, but I'm just learning about who I am. So yeah, that's a really, really interesting question, man.
No, I appreciate it. So I've got a question for you then.
Sure, man.
So if you're saying that isn't a loss in terms of I just copped a big old L, that I didn't win at all in that, what would you call it?
I would call it a lesson. Yeah, if it's not a loss, man, then it's a lesson. And I think that's the L that it was. It was the lesson for me. And I think that I had to glue that and kind of put that was a deposit. I had to bank that. And that became, I guess, part of a series of catalysts towards what I'm doing now, which is fully fledged in the industry. Just this is what I do most of my time, or full time then in that case, in that regard. So yeah, it was a lesson, big lesson.
And I think that's interesting because a lot of people don't know this, but there's a phrase that says jack of all trades, master of none. But the actual full phrase is actually jack of all trades, master of none, though oftentimes better than master of one.
That's right.
And if you think about the people that are specialists in certain job titles or industries, they struggle to get another job if they get let go of that one job. So when they have a broader skill set where they can do this, that, and other jobs as well, they're more employable. They're able to keep getting work. Look at tradespeople that you invite in your house. Don't get it wrong. I want a sparky that's got qualifications, or electrician if you don't know what a sparky is. You know what I mean? I want a plumber that's got qualifications, you know, before they start doing anything. But if you're telling me you can dabble in this and dabble in that, do you know what? I might have to keep your number in my phone because you can do a whole heap of something rather than that one person that can just do that one job. It's like, I don't want to have 10 people's numbers in my phone if I can just get a handful of people that can overlap and do what they need to do. Like, I like my Venn diagrams. So if you can give me a couple of them and I can see who overlaps and go, cool, I'll call you or you, we can make it happen. And I think with you being as multifaceted as you are,
Mm,
not only are you just in as a person, again, not trying to gas you, but as a person, as a nice, well-rounded, very pleasant, very got a lovely etiquette. You know, you're the type of person who not only do I enjoy being around, I would be more than happy leaving my kids around you and not feeling like they'll pick up anything I wouldn't want them to learn.
mm,
But you're singing, dancing, you're acting. Then you got your intellect in terms of how to deliver. You got your own business and all sorts. It's like all those things that you've got encompass a whole jack of all, master of none to some
yeah,
degree.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't mean that you're any less
Mm,
because you've got so many things you can put your hands to. It just means that people are able to then gravitate to you more so because
mm,
there's different ways in which they can connect with you over the different things that you do. You
mm,
know, not even talking about the instruments that you play,
mm.
not even talking about any of the stuff that you do, but
Mm,
it's just interesting to hear that someone who is so absolutely well rounded
mm.
has gone through that,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
felt what they felt, and you're
yeah.
thinking, mate, look at his wife, look at his beautiful family, and he doesn't want for anything, but clearly he wanted more.
Mm. Yeah, 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 yeah. That, and I think that's it. Kind of speaks to the fact that actually, like, if we don't pursue the thing in our heart that we really love, like, it doesn't matter how great things look on the outside. I mean, many people probably thought what, and probably and did say to me like, oh, why are you leaving your job? But that's a bit strange. And for the man as well, like, why as a man, like, you're leaving your job, like, how are you going to pay the bills? And I'm like, am I asking you for money? Like, you know what I mean? So there was all of that, and even the thing that you say about the jack of all trades thing, I knew that quote, just half the quote, for so long, and even that was a thing for me, bro, where I just thought, gosh, maybe I'm just sort of okay at a lot of things, but not good enough at one. So maybe that's why this isn't happening for me, or that maybe I can't do this. And it took a lot of unlearning, and then obviously learning the full quote, and then learning that, okay, you know what, actually it's okay to be good at lots of things. And because I realize I'm reading this book, it's called F Work Let's Play, and I'm basically what you call a scanner, which is I like breadth and I like to dip my hands in lots of things. And I might be good at some things and maybe not specialist, but pretty decent, or I might be really good at some things and then some things I'm okay at, but like I like to have a broad range of skills. But then that comes with its own challenges, because there are times even now where I struggle to, like, where to place my energy, because I'm like, oh, but I'm not doing this, and and I've had to have coaching and stuff to really kind of get me out of that survival state of protection where I'm going, okay, it's okay, you're not writing that play today. Yes, you've got an audition. Do the audition. The play will get written. It's not life and death. It's going to get written. But I have to have that conversation, because I will speak myself into like, oh my gosh, and be jumping around to every different thing and expending all of my energy and not feeling like I've achieved anything. So that's taken, and it's still a journey for me. Actually, it's still a journey for me to kind of find that balance and know when to focus on this particular set of skills, because this is what's working right now, and not to force it in other areas where actually, okay, maybe I'm just not feeling it, or it's just not working. So that's definitely a thing.
I think it's nice that you acknowledge that and you understand it. There's a lot of times that we go through struggles and we don't know how to deal with it, but ultimately we're all jigsaw pieces, and we just got to find out where we fit into each jigsaw that we're presented with. You know, I might be a white shaded part of a jigsaw, and I think I'm part of the wall when actually I'm part of a cloud. It
Mm,
depends on where I am. I might be occupying a space. Just because I fit don't mean that's where I belong.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's important that we keep revising and understanding who we are, where we are, what our ambitions are. Because unfortunately, as the seasons change outside, the seasons also change in our lives. The different people
100%.
there. So what my priorities are today might be different tomorrow, depending on what my kids say, or what the teacher says, or what the caregiver at the time says, or my boss says, or my missus say. So I've got to be agile to a certain degree, but
Mm,
at the same time, I've got to have things where it's on my to-do list. It needs to get done. When it gets done, that might be the thing I'm flexible with, but it's on my list to get done. And
100%.
it also giving yourself that kindness, that grace, where you do look in the mirror and you don't just see a reflection, but you actually see yourself and understand where you've come from, where you
Mm,
are, and where you're trying to get to, and just say, "Do you know, well done, you." I was actually talking to
mm,
someone today in an office I've visited today at work, and I was saying it's weird how one of the bosses there before that said, "You can't praise yourself. You got to let someone else praise you." I said, "No." I said, "I know me. I know what I've been through. If I got to pat myself on the back, I'm patting myself on the back." And that unfortunately feels like a negative culture that's trying to emerge itself by going, you cannot praise yourself. You got to wait for someone else to praise you. You don't know what I've gone through. You only know what I tell you or what I show you. If I know I struggle to get out of bed, if I told you I had to walk 2 hours because I got no money to pay for a bus to get to work, I'm patting myself on the back saying, well done, I did this. And I think everyone should be allowed, and I encourage everyone to do the same thing, because you know what you've been through. You know the hardship you've been through. Yes, things might be in a good place now for you, but them days when you had no money, them days when you're struggling, you don't have any bandwidth to deal with anybody because your phone's blowing up and you're just, shut up phone, I can't deal with you, or all the drama that's going on. The fact that you overcome them, even though you didn't know what tomorrow looked like, you're here now, you've done well, and your life's looking cool. But while it's looking cool, don't think this is just where it ends. There's more that can come and will come, and hopefully you'll be able to be well equipped for it. Before I do want to come back to you on this, but something you said again, and I do apologize, I just want to get out of my head why it's there.
Go, man.
The whole point of us not having overnight success, I think, is such a blessing. It's so important that we lean into that more, because a lot of us, and this is from me speaking to a lot of people, suffer with imposter syndrome. And we suffer imposter syndrome because we're in a position we shouldn't be, because we haven't been cooking long enough, as to use your analogy. If we had the time, if you think about it, right, we're talking about our diets and stuff like that. If all of a sudden I went cold turkey in a lot of things, I would be feeling it. But if I help my body climatize to the adjustments that's being made, when it gets to a month, 2, 6, year, 2, all the rest of it, my body's climatized to that. So I'm not going to be, I don't know if I can fast for a day. I know I can because I do it. I don't know if I can do it. I know I can because I do it. I don't know if I do it. I don't then have to wonder, can I do this job? Do you know what? Them times my boss gave me extra things to do, I wasn't getting paid for it, but that's chalked up to experience. So when it wasn't my responsibility, but they gave it to me, I did it. I made a mistake. That's your fault. You shouldn't have given it to me. But I learned something. Next time they give it to me, I do better. And eventually, when I apply for that job, I can get it, hopefully, because I've learned on the job when it wasn't my responsibility. And that's the same with a lot of other things. You know, how you are with your firstborn, probably different to how you are with your most recent born. Because you've learned on the job how to do things, how to reflect on things, how you feel like, maybe I can deal with it a little bit different. Maybe I've got to inhale and exhale a couple times before I contest the situation. I must admit, my son threw his arms up the other day and I had to go, come here. Come here. And it wasn't anything bad. It's just the fact that I asked to do something. He went, come here, please. And I had to use that time when he took to walk around here. And he's like, I could talk because I feel in my mouth. Fair. But why did you do that? Oh, you know, it's just, okay, please don't do that. It didn't come across very nice. If he got to be quicker, would a different outcome. But I need that time to that's it. And I think that's where we need to appreciate time
100%
and use it to help formulate what decisions we're going to follow through with. Because if you say anything in anger, if you jump into things too quickly, it can burn relationships. It can destroy your confidence. It could ruin relationships in ways that can never be rectified. So I think it's important that we use time to help build ourselves up in the right way, identify what struggles we're having so we can improve on them, but ultimately be able to walk in confidence in the version of ourselves we are, because we took the time to know who we are, work on those attributes, and then get ourselves that person. So thoroughly cook through so we can be that person.
Man. Fully cooked, bro.
Gosh, no, it's been a pleasure.
Likewise.
What I will ask you, because I'm conscious of time, is there anything going on right now in your personal life, career life, that you'd like to share and where people can reach you?
Yes, man. I did a one-man show last year. I've been working on the show for about 3 to 4 years now. I toured it last year, and hopefully it will be making a return. I'm still sort of talking about it, but we're not done with it yet. That's the bottom line. Got an incredible team behind me, beside me even, and it's called No More Mr. Nice Guy. Now I haven't got a page for it, but I've got my Instagram page, which is open, and I use it. My Instagram page is pretty much a work page. It's like my scrapbook. So anything that I do, whether it's creative inspiration or just stuff that I'm up to, I'll put on there. So that is just at Jonel. So Yeah, at CALJONEL for Instagram, and that's pretty much where you're going to find everything. My link tree's on there, and it will have links to stuff and bits and pieces. So that's the place to sort of keep up to date with what I'm up to. I'm trying to be better with it. I'm kind of a in and out with Instagram, but I try to kind of like keep up to date with things when things are happening and when I've got something to say. But yeah, check it out. Say hello.
Definitely. And you was a finalist as well, wasn't you?
I was. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Oh my god. Yes, for the Offies. Yeah. So my one-man play, we were a finalist in the Offies, the Off West End Awards, which is pretty much like the biggest Off West End Awards show in the UK. So that was really great. Still kind of a bit surreal, but I'm really grateful for kind of just being in the room and realize how much of a significant achievement it was when I was there on the night. It really started to sink in. I had my wonderful wife right beside me, just pushing me into the right rooms and encouraging me to get the press photos. So that was great. But that was an amazing experience. And hopefully off the back of that, I can really just galvanize this show and finally kind of take it to the height that I believe the show can go to, because we've done a great tour, but I do feel like there's some work we want to do in London with the show. So,
and out of curiosity, did you sell out on your tour?
We did, bro. Yeah. We sold out. Yeah, and we started at Catford, and then we went to Birmingham, Manchester home, and Bristol Old Vic. And we sold out most of those venues. Yeah. And
this is something you worked on over the COVID time during lockdown.
It was, bro. Yeah, I wrote my first monologue for it in 2020 and won a competition, and then Nouveau Riche helped me to develop it. And it then became a whole show. The first draft was pants, nothing like what was on stage. Draft was
that was a good solid foundation.
But that was let me rephrase that. You're quite right. A solid foundation, which then was the springboard for the draft that ended up being the tour. But yeah, we sold out the work in progress run in May 22, and then the tour in 24. So it's been an incredible journey. But we've got a little bit more to do with it before I think we're finally done.
That's fine, folks. You need to jump on. You need to watch the progress of it. It's a beautiful, like a flower just blossoming. I'm yet to see the show myself. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend just because my babies were young at the time, I didn't have the capacity to
say less.
Like even thinking about, my eyes hurt. Just thinking about how much they're burning me. What about your business, your tuition business?
Love Literacy, yeah, Love Literacy, man. That's my wife is the founder and director. I'm one of the co-directors of the company, and we teach online maths and English, science, tuition, mentoring. We run borough-funded workshops for young people. So we're doing a lot of great work in the community with that one. So you can find us on Instagram as well, Love Literacy, or our website, www.love-literacy.com. And you'll find out all about that company there.
And what age groups do you cover for your tuition?
Right from sort of year 2, year 3, we've had year 1s, but we tend to teach from about sort of year 2, year 3, right up to 6th form. We have adult learners. So we teach all ages, and we've got people that are experienced with all ages as well. So, yeah.
Folks, if you've got any young person in your life that you want to help support to get them a little bit closer to where you think they should be, obviously let them know. Also, maybe you want to get involved and maybe you want to apply and see if you can support. Definitely do what you can, because they're a fantastic organization, loving to help the community, and they get such positive feedbacks, and a lot of people come back to them, and I just can't praise them highly enough. So, and also don't forget, if you do have a young person in your life, but they're not necessarily your child, doesn't mean you can't gift them something to support the parents of that child to help them get the education up, because we know we need a bit more. Youth nowadays need as much help as possible, because their mortgage. I'm not buying a house for £600,000 for a 2-bedroom. So if I can get a little bit of money, and that means helping my kids do what they need to do to get that money, then let's do what we got to do.
I hear you, man.
But I appreciate you coming on. Sorry we didn't get to the second L, but
don't worry about that, man. I think the conversation took the direction it was meant to take, bro.
I just love this, and I appreciate you. Appreciate all that you're doing, and yeah, hopefully offline we'll catch up soon enough, and we'll catch up. But what I'll say to everyone, thank you for just joining us. Hopefully, you took something positive away from listening to Carlisle go through what he went through, and those of you that know him will know some of his journey, but won't hopefully know as intimate as what he just revealed with us. And I'd like to say, it's one of those things, and it's on another podcast I've got, which is 2 Minute Quick Charge. It's just, you can't always be the first and the best. Sometimes you just got to put the first thing out there, and it's going to have to take multiple revisions based on user research and just you seeing how the land lays with it. Or you can be the best because you've seen the first draft and you've gone, cool, like that, but I'm going to modify this. So you got to pick a lane. Either you're going to be the first or you're going to be the best. You can't be both because it's just not doable. So take a leaf out of Carlisle's book. Just try and rediscover that voice in you that is saying it likes to do something. And whatever that is, no matter how unique, no matter how silly it may seem to people, that's our business to feel what we feel about it. But if you feel passionate about it, run with it. Just because it might be silly to me, don't mean it's silly to you. There's things I enjoy, other people don't like it. People might not think, why you want to do a podcast? That's my business. I like to do it. And those that vibe with it will vibe with it. We all have our own lanes that we need to occupy in life. And instead of looking to your left and look to your right, just focus on you, do you, and be the best version of yourself, because you're the one that's got to deal with the consequence of you doing or not doing what you want to do in life. And you hear how Carlisle was successful in what he was doing in education, but he yearned for more. And he pursued that. And yes, he didn't get it in the first instance, which I think might have helped him to be more appreciative and be a better version of himself that he is today. But he, through perseverance, through looking at various options, and that's a key word, options, he's then put the work in, and you see him now on your TV screens, on your phones when you're watching YouTube, and if you're not like me and don't pay for like you'll see the adverts pop up and you'll see him on there and you'll hear him doing various different things, and he's in spaces he wasn't in previously because he followed his heart. How much he's making is neither here nor there. He's made it happen. And sometimes the cost of things isn't down to finance. It's got to be other stuff.
100%.
Your health could have deteriorated, whether it be mental, physical, emotional. Your relationship could have broke down if you weren't the right way. But hopefully you found a good place where you're at. And that is something where a lot of us can appreciate where you're at, but not understand what the recipe was to get you to where you are.
Yeah. 100%. Well said, bro.
Feel like a waffle there. Felt like a waffle there, but it is what it is.
the final encouragement, man. Perfect.
Oh gosh. Well, everyone, please go follow Carlisle on socials. Love Literacy. Check out his play when it goes on another tour. No more Mr. Nice Guy. I'm sure at some point it will be on Netflix or something like that. If not, he can record it, put it behind a paywall, let us run the money to him and go support.
I like the way you think, man. I like the way you think.
Dude, we've got to be out here supporting one another wherever possible. And I just hope that you get all the support you deserve. I hope that you continue to bless and encourage others, and as well as you getting blessed as well, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And everyone that's listening, please, I hope you're encouraged. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Don't compare yourself to me. Don't compare yourself to Carlisle. Just follow your heart, follow your dreams, do what you need to do. And I promise you, I'll be cheering for you because I want you to win in life. Hope that you understand that he's gone through what he's gone through and he's found a way to find it as a positive, not because he's just a positive guy, just because he's looking at it back here in hindsight and going, actually, I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't go through what I went through. And that could be the same for you. So stay positive, stay strong, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Every L podcast. Every L podcast. Every L podcast. Every L podcast.